Welcome to Immortal Works Flash Fiction Friday, Episode 29, Now I Believe, by Jason King, read by John Grundvig. I never did believe in ghosts. I wasn't the superstitious or religious type. I know. How many ghost stories start with something like that, right? Well, cliches exist for a reason, but I guarantee you my story is not cliché. My name is Jackson Roberts, and I'm a ghost hunter. Yeah, you heard me. I'm a ghost hunter who doesn't believe in ghosts. Or didn't. You see, people are stupid. No, wait. That's the charitable way to put it. People are desperate, naive fools who will do anything to be reassured that there is life after death, and will pay me good money to prove it. Especially those who have just lost a husband or wife or child. Funeral homes don't take kindly to someone leaving their business card next to the How to Cope with Loss pamphlets. Look, don't judge me. The guy's got to make a living. See what I did there? And if you're good at something, you don't do it for free, right? Well, I was damn good at it. The emotion in my voice, my fake channeling ecstasies, and you should see my possessed by a demon act. I was so good I sometimes scared myself. Well, it only takes one ambitious, career-hungry, and smoking hot little blonde news reporter to ruin an honest conman's livelihood. The expose got primetime coverage on Dateline. The Grim Creeper, she called it. A stupid title, but she got an award for it. And I didn't get anything more than a friendly half-hug after I spilled my secrets and paid for dinner. Well, it takes more than a ruby-lipped smile and a low neckline to keep me down. That was my thinking anyway. So I decided I'd prove myself not the fraud I am by inviting Miss Big Boobs miniskirt Reagan McAllister to document me investigating the most haunted place in the city. Brookwood, a 1950s abandoned asylum. You know the kind of place. Electric shock therapy, overcrowded bedrooms, and unmarked mass graves. It was perfect. Ms. McAllister brought her camera guy, and I brought my A-game, and the groundskeeper let us in at 10 minutes to midnight. Now, I've done this dozens of times, and this wasn't my first haunted asylum. But there was something different to Brookwood that night. It wasn't the faded, peeling paint on the walls or the water stains creeping over the ceiling, or even the rusty bed frames overturned and stacked in a corner. And it wasn't just a feeling. It was something palpable, a thickness to the air. That's when I should have run screaming away and come to terms with my new life as a fry cook. We descended to the basement and the morgue, so pretty routine as far as ghost hunts go. Nothing unusual really happened when I challenged the restless spirits, or even when I laid inside one of the meat lockers to get an EVP. I often rely on random noises and scary-shaped shadows to cue my performance. I was just about to make a full-body apparition out of the shadow of an old coat rack when all of our lights went out. Ghost hunters claim it to be the meddling of spirits to cover the fact that they forgot to charge their camera, or at least that's what I did. But that couldn't be the case with little Miss Cleavage. I mean, she was a professional. There was some nervous tittering, we shuffled around in the dark, and I even managed to goose her by accident. At least, I hope that was her. Could have been her camera guy now that I think about it. But the backup batteries were dead also. The camera guy produced a keychain flashlight, and it was decided we would return to the van for some more equipment. Fate had dropped a golden opportunity in my lap, and so I quickly volunteered to stay behind, braving the dark and wait for them to return with a different camera and battery set. Ms. McAllister arched an eyebrow at me, and a surprised smile told me I'd impressed her. The camera guy was also smiling at me, which suddenly makes more sense. I waited until they descended to the floor above, and then I ran. I'd been holding out on the blonde bimbo, my own pocket flashlight now shining a narrow beam out the morgue's opposite door. See, the reason I'd chosen Brookwood is because I'd hunted here before. I'd been trespassing then, but I was here most of the night and wandered its halls, so I know it pretty well. I could head them off, keeping to the shadows, and even a hard-nosed reporter like Reagan would scream if an old mattress flew into the hallway ahead of her, seemingly of its own volition. I was proud of myself. I might salvage my reputation yet. I broke out of the stairwell and jerked to a stop. Someone was standing a ways down the hall, just outside the cone cast by my flashlight. Had Ms. Boobies gotten lost? Great. There went my chance. All right, you caught me. That's when I realized I was talking to only one silhouette. It was too short to be the camera guy, so it had to be Reagan, right? The outlined shadow took a step toward me so that my flashlight beam revealed her legs. They were skinny, pale, and covered to the knees with a white dress. Not a dress, a gown, like the kind patients wear. Asylum patients. I jerked my flashlight up to illuminate the rest of the woman, but there was no longer anyone there. Hey! I called out. No response. I scanned the hall with my flashlight, then jogged to the spot in the hall where the woman had been standing. I turned about, looking for a room she could have ducked into, but only unbroken wall on both sides continued for another 50 feet, and I know she hadn't dashed away. Was Reagan setting me up? Was she using my own shtick against me? It wasn't enough that she'd destroy my reputation. She had to humiliate me with a campaign of poetic justice, too? Not cool! I called, working very hard to keep my voice from trembling. No, I was not going to be had a second time. I whirled around and found the same pair of skinny pale legs standing in front of me. But this time when I raised my flashlight, the woman didn't disappear. Long, scraggly black hair covered most of her face, leaving only the lower portion of her chin visible. It had a scabbed-over cut, one that complemented the bruises and long scratches on her bare arms and legs. Hello? She didn't reply. Do you need help? My voice cracked on help. She tilted her head up, and the hair fell away from her eyes, revealing 2 empty eye sockets and tiny black veins spiderwebbing her cheeks. I ran. I peed myself and I ran. Down the hall and around a corner where I ran right smack into the same dead asylum girl. This time she opened her mouth in a silent scream, and I got an excellent view of bloody gums missing every other tooth. This time I screamed, peed myself more, and ran the other direction. In my mad dash I dropped my keychain flashlight, but it didn't matter. I could see by moonlight filtering through a large window at the end of the hall. I focused on that window and sprinted, yelping each time I passed an open doorway where the dead asylum girl would suddenly be standing. My reasoning entirely fled, and I was piloted by pure primal instinct. Out, 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 out is all I could think. So I didn't consider which floor I was on when I kicked out the rotting boards covering the window from the outside, climbed up onto the windowsill, and leapt through. I didn't remember running up 4 flights of stairs in the dark, but like I said, I wasn't thinking, and the brutal reality of just how far I fell didn't hit me until I hit the ground. See what I did there? So, yes, my beliefs have changed. I now know ghosts exist, and there is an afterlife. It just took becoming a ghost myself to convince me. Sucks, huh? Thanks for listening to Immortal Works Flash Fiction Friday. If you have a submission, please send it to submissions@immortal-works.com.